I frankly think we are not going to see major changes in China's economic and trade policy, at least as regards the issues that concern the United States. For example, the U.S. is very concerned about the role of state-owned enterprises in China's economy. It poses all kinds of questions about, for example, when these major enterprises invest in the United States, are they acting on purely commercial terms? And are their costs based on commercial costs of capital and commercial costs of land and so forth? Or is this really an instrument of the Chinese state being subsidized by the Chinese state and therefore having an agenda that is beyond a regular normal commercial agenda? I don't see much evidence in China that the new leadership coming in is one that thinks that there should be fundamental reforms in the state-owned enterprise system. Individual by individual, maybe Li Keqiang would be more liberal on that, more reformist on that than would others, but he can't decide this on his own. Those are national level consensus decisions. I don't expect anything very dramatic to occur there. In terms of China's overall set of policies, which are very wide-ranging, of subsidies, of limitations on areas where foreigners can invest in China, these are major sectors of the Chinese economy that either prohibit or legally limit the kinds of investments that foreigners can make. In terms of a variety of unfair trade practices, theft of intellectual property and that kind of thing. These things at this point are all hard-baked into the Chinese approach to its position in the global economy. They all have major interests around them. They are not all at the central level. Many are at local levels. So I don't think that we should expect any major shift on these policies. We'll have to keep chipping away to try to get marginal improvements, but I don't think anything fundamental is likely to occur. The problem that China confronts is it may not make massive changes in the way it conducts its economic policies. The Chinese have followed a very successful economic model for the last more than 20 years. It's a classic East Asian model. You build up manufacturing capability, you import technology and management skills from abroad, you suppress domestic demand in order to have the investment necessary to build up your capabilities, and then you generate the necessary demand through exports, essentially selling to other people because you've held down your own domestic consumption. They've now largely exhausted that model. That model depends on a huge, flexible, young labor force, and that age category in China is now shrinking, not growing. So they're moving from having a surplus of this kind of labor to a deficit of it. They have destroyed their environment to the point where they can no longer follow the strategy that every other industrialized country has followed, which is to develop now and clean up later. They need to begin to clean up in a serious way now, and they know it. Also, it's just not realistic to assume that they can keep increasing exports at a very rapid rate, given the state of the other major economies around the globe and the politics of poor economic performance around the globe. And this economic strategy has really produced enormous maldistribution of wealth in China and enormous corruption. And along with environmental devastation, that is causing a lot of popular discontent. So they know they have to change what they're doing. The problem is there are a lot of vested interests that by now have grown up around the key pillars of this model they followed for several decades. And so they need to overcome those vested interests to shift to a really restructured approach to growing their economy, and it is not at all clear that they're going to be able to do that either rapidly or effectively.